Hello, Hockey World. Today is April 14th, 2020.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology, and we've got go ahead. I didn't know if you were going to do that.
No, exactly. And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com, and we are joined today by Lisa Dillman, who covers the Kings, and Eric Stevens, who covers the Anaheim Ducks for The Athletic. Thank you very much for joining us, both of you. How are you doing during this pause in the NHL season? Eric, you first.
Hey guys, I'm happy to be here, and it's obviously an interesting time, a time where really none of us, or many of us haven't on this planet haven't really gone through. I guess I've got my wife and 3 boys here, and we haven't strangled each other yet. We're actually doing pretty good in that regard. And I guess maybe because, I don't know, I'm sort of a natural homebody anyway when I have to work. So I feel like I've adjusted to it maybe a little bit better than others. But this time here is really it's just been something how to manage it, whether mentally, physically, whatever kind of way, to go about, totally adjusting your days.
And Lisa, I'm going through sports detox right now. I'm missing baseball. I'm obviously missing playoff hockey. How are you surviving right now?
Well, I'm watching a lot of Amazon Prime at night. I'm discovering series that I didn't even know were out there. I have a hard time watching old games and like I used to cover a lot of tennis. I'm having problems. I don't enjoy watching stuff where I know the result, even no matter how compelling it may have been. Unlike Eric, I'm actually by myself. My significant other is in Canada, so I have thought about making a dash to the border, but obviously I would be stopped at the border and likely arrested if I tried to get into Alberta. So I'm hunkering down here, and I'm just feeling really, really fortunate to be healthy, not necessarily happy, but healthy and safe. And there's you just read so much on a daily basis. It's like heartbreaking. I'm like crying 3 times before 9 o'clock reading articles. So, I'm safe, my family's safe, my friends. I don't believe I know anybody that's been, has had the virus that I know of firsthand. So, I'm just feeling really fortunate and blessed.
So, Eric, we have X.
Yeah, hey, Lisa.
Hi, Eklund, how are you?
Hey, Eklund.
Hey, Eric, how are you doing, bud?
All right, there's a face behind the tweet. There's a face. Oh my gosh!
If we do this again, I'll definitely make sure I'm on, and I'll just look a little more presentable than I do right now.
No worries at all. No. It's all mysterious. It's all good. It's great to talk to you again, Lisa, and nice to meet you, Eric.
Good to meet you.
All right, I'm going to give the first hard-hitting question to Eric.
Go for it.
This time of year covering the Ducks is, within the last month is always kind of dull because they never seem to be able to attract college free agents. Do you have any kind of handle on why that is?
You know what? That's an interesting question because it's actually one that I want to dig into. Once we get more access. Or at least more normal access than we have right now with, the decision makers in the organization. I know that certainly they've trended away from college free agents within the last few years. And I don't have a real clear-cut reason as to why. I do think that that's maybe indicative of an organizational shift. In that regard, if you recall, back toward the, maybe after the lockout or so, they did quite well with college free agents. You think of guys like Andy McDonald, Chris Kunitz is probably the most famous one. Yeah. In terms of Anaheim's history and the success that they had there, but they've obviously steered more toward. Focusing on the draft of, not necessarily college free agents, but maybe dipping into the European market occasionally. But clearly within the last, I'd say about maybe 5 to 7 years or so, they really shifted away from that area.
Lisa, I've been impressed with what Rob Blake has done over, say, the last 14 months. I think the realization was there that the Kings needed to go through a rebuild. They had a lot of money on their books with guys who I think are in decline. I mean, they're still effective players, guys like Carter or Dustin Brown, but they're really up against the cap with the big contracts of Doughty and Kopitar. And Blake has been smart to go out and trade guys like Muzzin and Alec Martinez with time left on their contract to maximize the return. And they've done really well in terms of getting prospects back in those trades and in other trades. How do you evaluate what Blake has done over the last year and a half?
Well, it's really interesting how the narrative has shifted in regard to him. Like a year ago, the fan base was pretty down on him, and I almost liken it to the early days of Joe Sakic in Colorado, where he was disparaged and criticized, and Rob has really rehabilitated himself in a meaningful way. And I, like you said, starting with the Muzzin trade, getting decent assets in return.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's helped him in a way where he brought on Ron Hextall as an advisor this season. And I think you can kind of see Ron's influence behind the scenes in a sense. And Ron, of course, he did with the job he did in Philadelphia, the wreckage he was left with there is almost like what Rob inherited in Los Angeles, trying to get out of salary cap hell, prospect, the pipeline being, the shelves being bare more or less in the pipeline. So he's come a long way, in rehabilitating sort of his image locally and even nationally. And people they also realize patience is required. And once the team was really willing to commit to a rebuild, which was a hard thing for them to do, for sure. But I think then the plan was in place, and they sort of said, this is the track we need to get onto.
It's been fun watching them, and it is a really great comparison to Sakic, honestly, because you're right in terms of Colorado fans and LA fans especially. LA's got I don't think the rest of the hockey world understands the Kings fan base and how real they are. I think sometimes people don't understand. I didn't realize it even until I got there to cover the Stanley Cup final about how, because you guys are. It feels like from where we are, so isolated, and yet this is a true this fan base goes back to the '60s. They have if you communicate with them, they'll pay attention. And I think that it felt like when Blake first got there, similar to Sakic in Colorado, he wasn't quite getting across the messages of what he was trying to do. And the fans were confused, but now I can see exactly what you're saying. Obviously the winning streak right towards the end of when, in the final days of the end days that we had recently, that was incredible. So as Blake really, and Hextall is a great at prospects. He's great at picking up prospects. That was his thing in Philly. He was great at prospects, but couldn't necessarily, was afraid to trade prospects in Philly. That was his issue here. So I think his assistant GM probably, really working out pretty well.
And I guess the other thing I just need to mention real quick is they have their right coach in place. I mean, I think Todd McClellan has worked out even better than I thought he would.
Yeah, that surprised me. It kind of surprised me a little bit too, because I wasn't a huge McClellan fan in some of the other places he's been, but I think he's done a heck of a job there. Really, really impressive.
Hard to argue it. I have a crossover question for the two of you. In a couple of years, you're going to have, and it may not be that long, it could be next year or year after, you'll have two former teammates in Alex Turcotte and Trevor Zegras going against each other, and eventually will probably be their top line centers for both teams. That's going to be fun, I think.
You know what? You're right. I remember talking with Trevor when I was in the Boston area for a little bit, and he was already talking about that. He was already thinking about that, which at the time also gave an inkling that he was coming out of school after 1 year. But yeah, no, they're good friends. Obviously, those two were on that star-studded U18 team for the U.S. Very talented players. If obviously it's a big if. They both have to develop here. Yeah. If those two can supplant, Anze Kopitar and Ryan Getzlaf as the number one centers on that team, that will obviously be a big thing for both organizations because we know just how hard it is to find legitimate number one centers in this entire league. But yeah, I remember at the draft where the two obviously hugged each other and congratulated each other on their success. And I talked with Trevor's dad about that, and he said he was already getting responses and texts and emails like, "Get that hug out of the way because there won't be any more after that."
Lisa,
That's
what's your
like the
response?
best thing that happens to these franchises. These two kids have, talent and charisma and big time personalities that you don't really see in this market.
Yeah.
And, the sort of hidden secret is a lot of the Kings and Ducks players are friends. Fans don't like to know that, and that these guys golf together, or they used to golf together. So they have charisma, and I'm very curious to see how it all plays out. I went to Madison in October to interview Alex Turcotte, and if you'd asked me then, is he going to come out and pro? I would have said no. I thought he would have stayed in school for at least another year, and I thought Cole Caulfield would be the player,
right?
Turning pro. So dead wrong, but
yeah.
It's interesting too. Like Craig Button, I talked to him the other day, and he thinks that actually it's a mistake for Alex to be turning pro. He thinks he needs at least another. He would have needed another year of seasoning at Wisconsin. So he actually thinks it's a mistake. So we'll see what happens when hockey is eventually played again.
Eric, Bob Murray could have been the most busy general manager over the last weekend before the trade deadline. He made 7 deals. Now, a lot of them were, Corbinian Holzer for Matt Irwin. But unlike a lot of his compatriots, he actually made hockey deals. The Kasha deal to Boston, and then Nick Ritchie for Danton Heinen. Was that him acknowledging that there's a reset needed with that team, and that guys like Ritchie and Kasha had not lived up to expectations?
You know what, Mike? I think there is an element of that. You're right. I mean, the deals in themselves, when you take it into the collective, they were more about the periphery. Certainly, he didn't deal away, say, his true quote unquote core players or deal from that. Right. But yeah, I think there was a realization, like I said, the most notably, you mentioned Nick Ritchie and Andre Kasha. I think there was a realization that, Nick is going to be who he is at this point, which is, basically a third line winger that can play physical and maybe chip in occasionally. They've got young guys like a Max Jones or somewhere who can step into that role. And Andre Kasha, we know about, before the season where, he was the supposed piece in a potential Justin Falk deal that, obviously went awry.
Right.
But, they were everyday players, but not necessarily the core critical pieces. And I think, as the season went on too, and as, I think the realization set in that maybe their young guys weren't going to come as fast as they hoped or as quickly as they hoped, and that they weren't going to be a playoff team. I think there was a distinct realization that, that this process was going to take a little bit longer. This wasn't going to be just some quick retool here. They don't want to burn it. They don't want to burn it all down, obviously. They don't want to trade, just start selling off pieces. And I think you're right. Bob is much more interested in making quote unquote hockey deals. But I think there was a realization that, there's a little bit more to this rebuild and that maybe they don't want to use that word, but that's what this is.
Right.
I would really like at some point. One of the things I'm doing for both Lisa and Eric, I'm doing this greatest of all time teams, which is basically I'm building them on NHL 20, and I'm playing these games and streaming them live. It's a lot of fun, and I'm in the middle of building my Kings and Ducks teams. Sometime when we have more time, I'd like to really talk to you guys about it for sure, because it's a lot of fun to do. But one question I have for each of you now, I so far have found one forward on each, the Ducks and the Kings, that's currently playing that I would put as one of their top 12 forwards of all time. And it was interesting. So I found one. Actually, there's a couple more on the Ducks than there are. I found one on the Kings and a bunch on the Ducks. There's one. So I would like to know who you think, guys, that you think of forwards of all time that are playing right now. And my criteria is this, because it's always tough to do it. They had to play at least 100 games with the team to be considered for this list. So, Lisa, let's start with you.
Kopitar and Brown.
Yeah, they're the two that I have. I really think about, and the Kings have some great ones. I mean, they really have a lot of great players. Going back, you have like you have different eras, and in the Simmer, Taylor, and the Gretzky era and everything.
And, Yari Curry and
Yari Curry. I know it's
on and on.
Well, Lisa, I think Kopitar's number three up the middle behind Dion and Gretzky. I mean, I don't know if I could think of anybody else. Maybe Butch Goring, but
I think he's ahead of Goring.
Yeah, I think so.
He's won 2 Stanley Cups, so.
I mean,
it's a very good idea for a future athletic story. Yes, wait till you do your thing first.
I will touch base with you, Lisa, on this because I'm going to I'll simulate this game, and maybe we could have you guys on to discuss it because it's kind of fun. I'm going to when I simulate the two playing each other, because I've been doing the rivalries. That's what I've been doing right now. So really,
just don't put the teams in the jerseys they were in the other night, please. In HD, it's not doing anybody any favors.
I won't. The other question is my other question for you, Lisa, is Mike Quick the best Kings goalie of all time?
Jonathan Quick.
I was calling Mike Quick from Philly.
You're thinking of the former Philly receiver. I know who you're talking about.
He's like a Philadelphia Eagle fan.
My daughter's favorite hockey player is Jonathan Quick too, and I'm like, I do it all the time.
Yes, he does.
Well, that would be an interesting debate among old time Kings fans to get involved with, because I'd probably have people like wanting to come over and have a few words with me if I didn't say Rogie Vachon. But
right.
I think you have to go with Jonathan Quick. I mean, 2 Stanley Cups.
I think so.
Innings trophies.
And I saw Rogie play.
Yeah, and I love Rogie, and I'm getting him in the Hall of Fame was a long overdue thing.
Now, the one thing you'll never see is Jonathan Quick laying out in the sun in a Speedo, getting pictured with like a cigar in his mouth. I think Rogie did that.
Rogie had that so cool 70s look. Like, he could have been an extra in a movie. He just had that coolness.
Yeah.
He was a great fit. Yeah, great fit for the franchise. Perfect, like you said.
Right. So I have 3 guys in my top 12 that are current Duck forwards. Corey and Perry and Getzlaff. I mean, he's not Perry's not.
Perry's not there. Yeah, Getzlaff.
Oh, Perry, yeah.
I'll call Perry and Getzlaff. I know Perry's not current, but I have those 2 on there. But then there's one more that I have that's currently playing. Who do you think?
Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, Getzlaff is. I mean, he's a top 5 player in Anaheim's franchise history. So that's obvious. It's interesting. I think the 2 that. Well, we're talking players, right? Just skaters.
Forwards. I'm just talking forwards. I'm just at my top 12 forwards.
Okay, just forwards. Then I think the 2. Okay, well, it's a decision between Jakob Silfverberg and Rickard Rakell.
Yeah.
I would lean towards Silfverberg. If put it this way, if Ricky were still on his 30-goal pace, then there would be really no argument there. But I think, Jakob being the better overall player, and he's a better overall player in my opinion.
He's reliable. Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, he's a player that all 30 other teams would want on their roster.
Yeah.
I've got to go with him. I don't know if you're going with him, Eklund, but
I'm leaning towards. I went with Rakell, which is I'm not.
Okay.
I'm a big Silfverberg guy too, but I really wanted to see somebody who sees the Ducks more often. Talk to somebody who sees the Ducks, and you guys both see the Ducks way more often than I do. But I just
don't put Rob Niedermeyer on that team. Don't do it.
Rob Niedermeyer.
He was money in that 07 run, though.
Yeah. Everybody has a moment.
No, for sure. But Rakell, and I looked at the stats, he is 15th all time for points per game for a Duck of anybody in this category. So, you're
focusing on the points, though. You're focusing on
the I know, that's why I need to talk to you because I'm looking at stats, and that's not good,
If he had, let's just say the last 2 years, if he were in the 20-goal range at least, if not pushing toward the 30 that he was a couple times, then I'd be right with you. But weighing the 2, I got to go with Silfverberg as far as the overall player.
Very, very cool. No, I appreciate that.
All right, so I have a current day question for Eric. Of course, Eck is only come around to John Gibson in the last season, not for the last 3 or 4. This is just the way it is, Eric. It's just the way it is. But
it's nothing against John Gibb. These guys
yes, it was.
Yes,
Yes,
Freddie Anderson
he's
too.
the greatest goalie ever. I mean, anyway, that's fine.
But my big question is, you can't really, the way the Ducks are, you can't really look at stats with Gibson, but you could see that so many games he's under siege. Maybe you could give us all an idea of how good you think he's been, considering, who's on the ice and who's playing in front of him.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting. And I look at like for instance, cut and dry. This year, I don't think he was as good as last year.
That's fair.
And actually, I think even though the defense isn't what it was overall, I don't think that John was just under as much barrage as he was last year. Last year was just no goalie could hold up. Really under what he faced night after night. Whereas this year, with goalies, it's what separates the good and the great ones. There's many good ones. The great ones, though, the good ones. There's that year where it seems like there's always one goal that shouldn't, that's questionable. That's allowed in. One goal that's allowed, and that was kind of John Gibson this year. His numbers weren't horrible, but they weren't particularly good either. So it'll be interesting to see what he does going forward. As they, try to, remake this team. And as he's signed for 7 more years here. Okay, yep. He's going to be the guy here, for a while. So he's the franchise goalie of the now and the future. I think he is a great goalie. I think he can be a Vezina. I think he can be a guy that can challenge for the Vezina. He probably should have been challenged for the Vezina in the last year or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's gonna need more help in front of him. No question, Russ. I mean, he's gonna need a better defense overall in front of him. A team that can control possession more.
Unfortunately, Anaheim's traded away most of their good defensive prospects. They've gotten a little lean there.
Yeah, you're right. And it'll be interesting to see what happens at the draft this year and whether somebody like Jamie Drysdale is still around for them.
He's got to be the guy,
that type of player in their organization, for sure.
Lisa, quick question here before you guys have to go. Jonathan Quick bounced back slightly from a really, really bad year. I know there was, he's had ongoing injury concerns this year. 904 save percentage, played a little better, I think, because the Kings started to play better defensively. But they moved on from Jack Campbell. They moved him to Toronto. But Toronto finally gets the backup that they need. And Cal Peterson, in only 8 games, has played pretty well for them. I mean, do you see this basically as them setting up Peterson as the goalie of the future and maybe him getting a bigger workload as the years go by?
Absolutely. And I think that will benefit both of them. I think one of the things hurting Jonathan Quick the last few years is that, the team hasn't been the team it once was, but he was playing too much. They were overplaying him, I thought. And now that Cal Peterson is in the fold, and I sort of saw signs of them going to him a little bit more even during the 7-game winning streak, and right before it, he was getting the tougher assignments. He was playing against the Penguins. He played the final game against the Oilers. He was getting the tougher games. He is the goalie of the future, and I can see it tilting more towards him this coming season, and I think it will benefit both players. And it was pretty much telegraphed last summer when they gave him a 3-year contract, extension. The first year was a 2-way deal, which would have been this past season, and then after that was a one-way deal. Yeah. So that was like, okay, the writing was on the wall that Jack Campbell would be moved at some point.
So I have one last question for both of you. Going forward, we know it's going to take a little time. Which one of the teams, and I'll even give you the out, it could be at the same time, which one makes it back to the playoffs first, or will it be like the same year, you think?
I would, before the season, I would have said Ducks conclusively. I thought they were a little bit ahead of the curve in the rebuild. I'm not as sure of that, now. because I think that the Kings have started, to do quite a good job in terms of rebuilding, getting the right prospects. They're not ready yet, but those prospects may be a little bit higher end than say the Ducks have right now. But honestly, it'd be nice for both of them to get back, in the playoffs in the same season. There's only been one playoff series between the two, and that one was terrific, and it really lit up SoCal, and SoCal hockey especially. So
amazing.
That's what I would like to see.
Lisa, what do you think?
I don't think either team gets in next year, but I think they both get in the following year, and I'll have one qualifier. If one of the two teams happens to get the number one draft choice, then all bets are off.
Yeah. That would be exciting. That would really be fun.
It won't be the Ducks. It won't be the Ducks. I'll tell you.
It's really in the modern era. It's really never happened. Kings had the number one draft pick in 1967, and it was Nudie.
This is an example, though, Lisa. The New York Rangers have never had number one.
Yeah, the Rangers have never had number one. And it's the funny thing about that. So this is my question. I'm going to say goodbye to you after this because I really appreciate you guys, and I want to have you guys both back because and individually. So we have a what kind of hockey person are you quiz? I'd love to give you both. It's a lot of fun. But here's this is perfect transition somehow here. From my hometown, Bobby Ryan. Okay, I grew up in the same town as Bobby Ryan. There's that pick that the Ducks didn't get first overall. When they could have had another guy.
They were lucky to get two.
Number one would have been pretty nice though, but he's had a pretty good career. So but Bobby Ryan, is he in the top 12 Ducks forwards of all time?
Yes.
I think so. Yep. Okay. I
30 goal seasons.
Yeah.
He was a fan favorite here, no doubt. I totally get why they traded him.
Yep.
And they did pretty well with the trade and getting Silverberg in return. But that he while he was here, he put up numbers and he excited the fans.
Yeah. Lisa, you agree?
I don't think Dustin Penner is.
I go there. I do agree with Eric on this Bobby Ryan assessment for sure.
Oh, good. Well,
he
thanks,
just doesn't know pizza. Bobby Ryan still thinks the king of pizza in Cherry Hill's the best pizza out here, and he's wrong. But other than that, he's a good guy.
Bobby's such a good guy.
He's
one of my favorite guys to cover all time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, and it's fun for me, and he and I, because we both grew up going to the same exact places, And
he will never come. He will never come to the East Coast because he told me a long time ago he hates humidity.
Wow.
And that's why. And so far he stayed away from it.
He's spoiled. That's what I tell him. He's spoiled.
Where does he spend his summers? Do you know? Is he?
No, he's in Idaho. Believe it or not, he's got a.
Oh, that's right. I knew that because Ottawa's pretty darn humid in the summer.
Like humidity?
Seriously, nobody does. I hate it.
The big thing about the Northeast is we're the greatest place. You live here, we got all the change of seasons, but once you've lived there for a little while, all that nostalgia kind of goes away. but anyway, it's so nice seeing you guys.
Thank you very much.
Please stay safe with your families and everything like that, and we'll get you back. Okay.
Thanks for having us on. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
So much. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
That's Lisa Dillman and Eric Stevens. You can follow them on Twitter. I tweeted out earlier today. You can see their you can find their Twitter accounts on my tweet if you go there earlier today. Mike tweeted it out as well. Yep. And it was so nice talking to them.
A lot of California hockey knowledge, man.
Oh man, Lisa's one of the best. I spent a lot of time with Lisa during the Stanley Cup Finals.
I thought, like I said, I thought going after the deadline, the Kings and the Ducks were the two most interesting teams because you saw what a sort of measured, intelligent rebuild was going on with the Kings, and it was, I don't know if it was you or Russ that brought up Sakic. Oh, no, it was Lisa.
No, Lisa brought her up.
Yeah, but remember, before the deal for Duchesne, Sakic was the biggest joke in the NHL in terms of
I was manager. One of the only people defending him.
You remember the whole thing with Duchesne was the reason that he was that too, because that had the big thing because he was the fact he hadn't traded Duchesne, so obviously had to trade Duchesne.
Right.
And
it was incredibly patient. And, here in a lot of ways, it's interesting to compare Sakic to Hextall because there are really similarities in their styles.
Oh yeah.
But there are strong similarities. I think Sakic has been where Sakic has succeeded where Hextall doesn't is Hextall was unbelievable, and he's been unbelievable in LA already.
Well, here's
building something, right? But Hextall, when it comes to actually taking your picking what you build, because Hextall does fall in love with he's such a prospect guy. He falls in love with his prospects a little bit strongly.
Just to continue because what Blake did, and he's made fair deals that benefited, like the deal with Toronto, the Muzzin deal. It benefited Toronto because they added a veteran defenseman. They got the first-round pick. They got a prospect in Grunstrom, who I think is going to be an NHLer. The Leafs were able to sign Muzzin, so the Leafs got long-term solutions on the blue line for prospects. And then the other deal, the Clifford Campbell deal. But then they get 2 second-round picks for Alec Martinez. They've made smart deals.
Yeah, there was no question, and I think the Kings have drafted a little better than the Ducks, but they have a better staff for that. Like they just do. Hextall is really going to help though get Blake out of cap trouble. He will help him with player development suggestions because he was really good with that and really streamlined a lot of things with the Flyers, and that's going to be a formidable group there.
Well, needless to say,
the big difference for me with the Ducks and the Kings was the circumstances they were in terms of the Kings were obviously were at the rebuild way sooner. They were obviously there because they had won their stuff and they were descending. The Ducks, remember, were like a team that was going to go into Game 7 of playoff series. They were still like they were like that close to going that much further. They were
like the Buffalo Bills.
They still had that core that they believed in. They had so many great defensemen that they traded away all of them. But there was a point at which the Ducks were like the one team where they're kind of like the Flyers are now in terms of prospects. Like they had so many defensive prospects, you can just start trading.
No, they don't have many more.
Yeah, no.
The Kings have them all.
There's similarity between where the Flyers are now with defensive prospects.
I gotcha.
The Ducks were then.
Yes.
Then you trade, but it just shows in the NHL you cannot trade away defensive prospects because you can have 12 one day and 5 the next. It feels like it's just.
Well, but they went overboard, and I think some of the deals that they made at the deadline, they got Axel Anderson back in one of the deals with Boston, so that sort of replenishes one of the prospects. But they went overboard. It's like they traded Montour and Theodore. And they kept Larson, but the Marcus Pettersson to Pittsburgh. I mean, that's 3 NHL.
The Pettersson one was where I felt like they went a little too far, and Pittsburgh has really benefited from that.
But I'll tell you right now, Ak, Rob Blake and Luke Robitaille are crossing their fingers and toes, praying that either there's a new CBA with compliance buyouts or compliance buyouts come out of this for next season, because say Jeff Carter. Bye.
Yeah, I didn't even want to bring up Jeff Carter with Lisa I
didn't want to.
I think it's so necessary for them to step away from him.
Although he's been doing some PR, he and his wife are doing.
Sometimes it's unfair of me because my experience with Jeff Carter was
when he was younger.
It was way and with LA too, but like way more before that. And he was definitely a crazy immature kid. Couldn't even imagine getting married, so that he's doing stuff with his wife for charity makes me really happy. Like that's the kind of thing. Like he must be getting. I would imagine that like a really strong woman could get him into line, kind of thing.
But they have 3 contracts that you would say are guys who are past their prime. I could see them keeping Dustin Brown because he's a leader on that team. I could see them even keeping Quick because a veteran goaltender, but having him.
I think they're going to move Quick.
Well, I mean, it could, and he could go to Seattle too, an expansion.
Yes, doesn't that feel like the absolute perfect thing?
That does, yeah.
Quick to Seattle just feels like, to me, that's just.
It depends if he wants to go, though.
And the thing about Quick is that he
holds the hammer on that. I think
he's not. And people who
he doesn't have a no trade or no move.
No, he doesn't.
Oh, I thought he did.
Doesn't. But here's the thing about him that I would be careful if I was Seattle a little bit. Like he is not Marc-Andre Fleury in a couple ways. Like The thing about Quick, why I want Quick to still be a good goalie is he's like one of the few goalies who's still like a goalie to me. Like he actually is pure and simply like an athletic, incredible goalie, like reflex goalie. Like where Fleury is very good at that too, but Fleury plays better positionally than Quick does. But
I think what you were getting at is Quick has a bad side too, and I've seen.
Yeah, he does. He has a bad side, and
Fleury doesn't have a bad side.
And see here's where the benefit. On top of, you've got a young goalie in Peterson who we talked about. You've got a lot of young players like Cale Clegg in LA, and now Turcotte and Bjorn Foote and Fagemo and Kupari. You know, there's a group of 6 or 7 prospects who will probably be in the NHL within 2 years.
Oh yeah.
So you know, it's really moving out a lot of guys who are left over from that. And the one benefit for all those guys is that they're on entry-level deals, so it's not imperative that they get rid of Brown or Quick.
Hey, Eck, we've got a little bit of breaking.
Go ahead.
The Flyers did one of those Zoom interviews with Couturier, and the interesting thing that I took out of it, the most interesting, is that right now he is stuck in Philly because he had applied for a green card, but everything has slowed up and he hasn't gotten it. And like I told Mike, like, let's just say for argument's sake, month and a half, his green card comes through. Is he going to risk going back if there's a hope of an NHL season? Because if not, then he would have to quarantine on the way back, right? And he just bought a house.
Yeah, I don't think he's caught in no man's land right now.
He really is.
The funny thing is that yesterday, you know, Twitter blew up because Bettman had an interview with Anderson Cooper. Of course, CNN put a misleading tagline on the interview, basically saying that Bettman was admitting that the league could shut down, and he didn't say anything different than he has said over the last couple weeks. They basically went with a sensationalistic headline, and right now I think everything is sort of it's still in limbo, which is basically what he said. But I think they still want to play, and then they're gonna wait till the absolute last second before they make that decision. And I'm not sure I care what Drew Doughty says. Because Drew Doughty was interviewed by, I think it was Greg Wyshynski of ESPN, and was talking about, I don't see the point to playing the season. Of course you don't, because your team is not in the playoffs. What you say.
You've got $8 million a year that you don't have to, like whatever.
Right. But we have to also remember Doughty's a little bit of a lube job, and he likes having fun in interviews.
Yeah, he says whatever he feels. He does. I like Doughty for that. But here's the thing, it's like the thing that I talked to somebody about this yesterday, and it was really fascinating. They said what people don't realize about us, and this is a person at the NHL I'm talking to, is that we have gone through partial seasons before. This is not like, and unfortunately for what it's worth, it's like, the baseball sits there and says, oh, you can't have baseball has, their purists and everybody has their purists. Hockey purism does not exist nearly to the level that it does in other sports because of a lot of reasons. But
that's true.
One of the main reasons is we've had these truncated seasons, and we've also and the NHL's changed rules. Like they've changed, like they took away the 2-line pass. That's that's like the equivalent of taking away the third, taking away a foul ball on the third strike, not counting or whatever. Like the 2-line pass is a thing.
The NHL has had 2 truncated seasons in the last 25 years. Right, and because of that, they're okay with that. They get that, and they get that things. They're kind of used to the unexpected. Like this to them, this is not. I mean, this is worse, but it's not anything that's beyond their control. It's not. I mean, it's not anything that's beyond their understanding to do like what the layout I gave you yesterday. Which again, after I put that out there, I got in a little trouble. Actually, I must admit, from the NHL because somebody contacted me and said I wasn't supposed to put that out yet. But I said, listen, that happened to me 2 weeks ago, and Pierre
LeBrun came out and it said something completely different than what you said too. So everybody's putting stuff out.
And that's what I said too. I said, so honestly, people will believe Pierre over me anyway, so don't worry about it. That's what I said. So so it's fine. So it's good. It's good.
But as I sort of predicted, and when we've talked about on one of our shows recently, Doughty came out and said, well, if somebody wins the Stanley Cup, in this year, it's not going to mean as much. Okay, so the 1995 Devils and the Blackhawks should have asterisks next to their championships because they weren't full seasons.
No, it doesn't.
A load of crap.
The reality is we play way too many games, in a regular season. I mean, we have to for money's sake, but I'm telling you that the NHL, if it was to be the way it should be, the NHL should start in November and end in in April. And when they start in January, actually that one year they started in January that the Hawks won it, right?
2013.
Right. That to me was that felt like the perfect amount of regular season games to me. It was 48 games or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It felt like the perfect number of regular season games in actuality because we just play so many games.
Yeah, it's not that it's so many. You know what it is? This is a really taxing sport. And I know the NBA a lot of times gets credit for being maybe better athletes. But the problem with the NBA is they no longer play defense. So really, they don't have to go through the same kind of physical rigors that a hockey player has to go through. And I think that's the reason. I agree.
There's no sport in my mind that plays that as many. There's no one that comes close to playing as many games at a high level like hockey players do.
Right. No, I agree.
I mean, the playoffs themselves are just like
they're
monstrous. Like that if you take away the regular season, what the physical strain on a team in the playoffs is unbelievable.
They're never going to go for less than 82 games, unfortunately.
Yeah,
honestly, I would like to see. I mean, honestly, if we ended the season, or if we started the season around Labor Day, you could have the playoffs done by Memorial Day, and then you'd have a longer break in the summer months.
Yeah.
But they don't want to see. The thing is, they don't want to go head to head against college football and the NFL in September. And so, if you go the other direction,
I think you have to go the other direction. Mike.
Yeah, if you go the other direction, then you're probably ending the Stanley Cup playoffs normally around probably July 4th, and then
that's kind of why I like the January start, because it took them away from football completely.
Like, yeah, they're never going to be able to get 82 games in out of January.
I know, but that's why I thought, because the real break in the sports world, like the natural slot for hockey is January to June. Like that's really where it naturally slots in, because in October, early October, early September, October, you're going against the end of baseball, and then you're going against football, and then it's like, all that stuff.
Yeah, but if you go if you're on that schedule, football is over with except for playoff games on Sundays. So of course they're going head to head against the NBA, and that's basically it.
The NHL can take on the NBA. That's
they're different fan bases.
Right, they're different. Well, they're not different fan bases. I think it's just a better sport, right? But
well, I mean, I think that, but I'm in the minority.
I think college basketball is, I'm a way bigger college basketball person than pro basketball. But anyway, pro basketball really has become ridiculous.
It's a minor thing, but I saw that a Russian KHL free agent named Konstantin Okolov, I believe is how it's
pronounced. Okolov, yeah.
He signed a 1-year contract with CSKA Moscow. He was being courted by Montreal and Toronto, and decided to re-sign for 1 year. Now, Chris Johnston reported, and this makes a lot of sense, with the uncertainty right now of how long it's going to be before this season is completed, meaning if it goes in July through September and then next year starts in November, a KHL free agent who hasn't played since April doesn't want to wait till November to play again. And there's that uncertainty is basically having a chilling effect on some of these KHL free agents to maybe stay in Russia another year and then come over after the KHL season, where they have a guaranteed job locked down if they stay.
Well, here's a good one too. So yeah, this morning I woke up and my email it said, this was from the KHL, that Anton Slepyshev turned down going back to Edmonton. Now we know he was there before and he had mixed results. But he's been really good for CSKA for 2 years, 15 goals, 18 goals. He's now 25. And what I always tell people is a lot of times 25 is a mark where all of a sudden a hockey player can just turn into a different player than what you remember. Plus, Edmonton's not a tire fire like they used to be. And so you would think he would want to come back. But again, based on what Mike is saying, he decided to stay. And the biggest name, Kirill Kaprizov, we haven't heard anything out of him. You would have thought right now he would definitely have said, I'm coming back. But you know what? He hasn't said a word. And so all of this has put all of this in flux, and they're probably not going to get the players they thought they would, even with a salary cap change in Russia.
And
the thing about Edmonton, it's kind of odd, is that I've talked to a few players, Puyarvi didn't work out there. There's some things that are just, Edmonton is it's a hell of a hockey town. It's a great hockey town. But for some reason, a lot of the guys from Europe, it's not Europe, but I would say, from Europe and Russia, have they're not a lot of players on that team right now. who are like, who are from over there. It's
especially with Russia, I think the stench of Yakupov and how he was treated there.
Yakupov, and I also think Russians don't want to live in Edmonton. I mean, the Russians really have if you live in Russia where you grew up in a very, very cold climate, you're coming to the NHL, you're thinking about the fact it's going to be warmer, than it was in Russia. I
get that, but the funny thing is, in terms of opportunity, how bad the Oilers are on the wing, and Slipachev probably was almost guaranteed an NHL spot if he came over, but he decided not to, and it's a little strange that he didn't. And Russ, I'll tell you one thing, I would be shocked if Bill Guerin is not offering Kaprizov, because it has to be an entry level deal. He has to be offering him the Schedule A and Schedule B bonuses, every bonus up the wazoo. He's got to be giving them, and if he's not,
right. But here's the difference. Okay, I'll tell you what the difference is. Over there, they will pay him the full season amount, no matter what happens to the season. Right. Here, that's not going to happen. So if it's a truncated season, he's only getting to get paid 75%, let's say. He's not going to go for that. He's not going to change for that.
I don't think and this brings up a great point. It's something I wanted to bring up today. And I wanted to write about, but I forgot to write about it. We'll write about this tomorrow. Okay. So yesterday, some people brought up on here that, the NHL contracts end in July, and that's the case, that's right? True. So, July 1st, that's why July 1st is the signing day. That's contracts are over, right? So if we do what we're talking about doing now and run this into how's that going to work? Because these contracts are going to be over, right?
It's going to be negotiated. The NHLPA and the NHL will be on common ground there, because like you said, the contracts expire on June the 30th with a normal season. But since we've had, we're probably going to have a 2 or 3 month gap between the end of the regular season or the pause and the beginning of either the rest of the regular season and the playoffs, that will probably be pushed off until September 1st.
Yeah.
That's why we've seen college free agents signed, or guys who are in terms of contracts been signing, because right now we don't know whether the deadline is June the 1st or September the 1st or when the hell it is.
Right. And as part of that talk, because you're right, that has to be something that's agreed upon by both the players and the owners. They have to agree that's a CBA like addendum, basically. That they and everybody. You're right. It behooves everybody to do it.
Right.
But it behooves the NHL a lot more, obviously, because the players, have already gotten most of their money from this season. They don't get paid in the playoffs, so it makes sense for them to do it, right? I've heard that that one of the negotiation points for that will be that if next season is truncated, the players will still get paid for a full season. So
I'll believe it when I see it.
It makes sense though, because it's actually a pretty good compromise for the NHL getting the playoff.
They've never done that before.
No, but we've never done any of this before.
No. Hold on. They've never done that before, but we did get notice yesterday that teams are starting to tell personnel that they're going to have to take a 20% pay cut the same way that it was in the lockout.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, so if they're reverting to the old ways of the lockout, and they make a lot more revenue act now. So, certainly they don't have to do that, but that's their business model, so they're going to do it. I don't believe it until I actually see it, that they will pay them for a full season without playing a full season.
I'll be bold in saying this. I think they will cancel this season and the playoffs before they even touch or lose one game of the 2020-21 season.
I don't know about that.
It's 100%. You're 100% wrong, Mike, from everybody I talked to.
I think the cup –
just not the mentality at the NHL offices right now at all.
Yeah, I think raising the cup is more important than losing some games on next season if they had to. They don't want to do either, but I think if they had to choose it, they don't want to lose the cup.
And I'm not sitting there saying that might not happen, because it might happen. But the mentality of them right now, and to say they would do that before they did that, no, they wouldn't. They first.
I don't think either is going to happen. I think that they're going to play the playoffs. I don't think they're going to play the rest of the regular season.
No, they're not having a regular season.
Yeah, I think they're going to probably roll back to 68 to make it fair for everybody. Play the playoffs, and then maybe they delay the start of the regular season to November, like LeBron and UAC and everybody else has been saying, and eliminate the All-Star game, which is a positive out of a negative, and eliminate the bye week.
Eliminate the preseason.
All right, so here's some breaking news that will help this argument. So Governor Phil Murphy, who's out of New Jersey, just showed a graph saying that because of social distancing and everything else, that the curve is flattening here in Jersey. And again, I live in South Jersey, right? North Jersey is where most of it was.
Near New York City, yeah.
Right, but it's flattening, and they were like the second highest or the third highest in the nation. So
third behind New York and Washington.
If this continues for a couple more weeks, I think the optimistic sports talk will start to pick up.
Well, actually,
out of me that he said that, Russ, because it's like, you know what I mean?
He tweeted it, yeah.
And I know everybody wants there to be hope for the economy and all that stuff, but it just scares the hell out of me. Like that,
I know
that they say this stuff too soon and people get complacent.
Well, he's been very conservative.
I'm feeling that like some complacency. Like I went to the market yesterday, versus last week, and there were like less people like in masks, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like to me, like that people are already feeling like, okay, the worst is behind us or whatever. It's just. It's so risky to do.
Well, that. Maybe it's that way. It seems to getting ramped up here. Like I went out yesterday, and whereas last week I'd say maybe 25% of the people had masks at a supermarket, it was more like 75 or 80% had a mask or a bandana or something around their mouth and nose. So it seems to be.
I think in the country it's moving at different rates. Like it's obviously what's happening. Like because where close you get to New York, I think. Like Russ and I are more in the New York City area, and the Philadelphia big. You're definitely getting more of like we are definitely like 2 weeks ago no one was wearing a mask. Last week everybody was wearing a mask.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. I think in a month, if this flattening continues, the league's talk will pick up. Murphy's been very conservative because his area's been hit hard. So for him to tweet that out, he's not going to do it without great information. That's the one thing I can tell you for sure.
I agree, and I would like him to say, and I don't mean to do it like podcast stuff, but what I would like him to say is, I'd be like, there is hope, this is working, but also extending the stay at home till the end of May, just like that kind of thing, like saying it's working, but we're going to extend it till then. Like have it be like, this is working. Let's keep doing this. If we keep doing this, we'll be okay.
Well, he hasn't announced that it's open.
Yeah, but the problem there, Ak, is that there's no guarantee that if you delay it till June, that there's not going to be a spike when people go out again. So it may be delaying the inevitable.
But I'm saying that now, there's this subtle thing that people are saying we're going to be fine in the beginning of May. Like you're feeling it like out there, and it's not. That's just.
I think it's just the stir craziness of everybody going on. Now the one thing that
he did. All right, so hold on. So he sent the second tweet that said, you leave the worrying to me. We're doing really well with everything, but keep practicing social distancing, being smart, and staying home. So he's not close to changing it, but he is given a status report.
Now,
that's good.
The one thing we have to bring up, because I would have brought it up on the pre-show, but we had guests, but now it's sort of, we can mix it into what we're talking about right now. Yeah. The fact that the state of Florida gave exceptional status, essential status to WWE. And the funny thing is that this is probably it's probably attached to Major League Baseball as well, because by DeSantis doing that, that is going to allow baseball players to have essential status to be able to play games in Florida. So that big money spoke right there.
Oh yeah, there's no question. I mean, when I saw that, I laughed because of the ridiculousness of it, and because again, it may make a lot of money. I get it. Not it may. It does make a lot of money, but it still doesn't mean it's completely 100% safe.
Yeah.
And so we've talked about it for the last few days, but it just
not even close to it, not even 50.
Right. But this is their way of saying, look, we've got approval, so that's it. There's nothing we could say after that.
That's what these major sports are looking for.
They are going to flex their muscles. Mike's right about that.
There's pressure from the White House to do it.
Right.
It's coming.
But I think they're for lack of a better term, they're washing each other's hands in this instance. The major sports leagues are looking for cover from the government, and this is basically cover. Now they have the ability to get, okay, we can play games now because this is labeled essential services. So
yeah,
now I don't think that's
how is oh my god, I know that is, but anyway, let's do the I'm not gonna do I didn't get to travel last night back in time. I had issues, so and not
transporter was shut down,
my parallel universe, but I was curious, how many
the DeLorean had a flat tire.
What you guys think of the parallel universe, and if you want me to continue it, go to patreon.com/hockey and I'll continue the
If you pay us more, we'll stop.
Right, but if no one, if yeah, right, yeah, $5 you want me to continue, $20 you want me to stop, a month, that'll do it, and so there were some people attacking us, Funky in the chat room today. He woke up on the wrong side of the bed, man. He was going after Russ today about flip flopping on Hextall.
Hold on, where have I flip flopped? I've always been a supporter. Where have I flip flopped? I said he did a great job in Philly.
You were actually I sat next to Russ a lot during the Philly time in press boxes and stuff like that. And Russ, why would Russ not like Hextall? Russ is like Hextall's a prospect guy through and through. Like he is what he does.
Yeah. And remember, I was the one.
Not Hextall. Sorry, it was not Hextall. Who was he? Oh, Sakic. Okay, I'm sorry. He was going. You were going after. You were flip flopping.
No.
This is Russ. This is Russ. Russ, defend yourself, Russ.
I was. I mean, you can only base criticism on what is there at that moment. And I was critical of Sakic because Sakic, up to that deal, had not done very well as general manager. Russ was like, be patient.
I was supporting Sakic. Go find the tape.
Yeah, but he turned
Dean
everything.
Youngblood, by the way, Dean Youngblood is always welcome on this show.
Is he offering money? I see a money bags there. Is that?
I was curious about
Dean Youngblood doesn't have Rob Lowe money.
Yeah.
Dean Youngblood had Cynthia Gibbs, so that was worth more than
the other thing for Funky. Yes, I do stockpile rugby shirts. That is my thing.
This is a Phil Collins shirt from the Abacab cover.
Yeah. So here's the funny thing about my rugby. I hate spending money on clothes. Hate it. So here's my thing. Here's what there's a thrift shop really close to us. And for whatever reason, someone in our area just buys like really nice quality like polo rugby shirts that are like probably like $100 shirts. I find them in the thrift shop for $10.99 or whatever. I must own this. There's some really like famous
You're probably wearing a dead guy's rugby shirt.
I am wearing
from Donovan
wearing a dead guy's clothes. That's my wife's joke about that, But but no, there's no question about it because I'll get I'll go in there sometimes. There'll be like 5 polo shirts like just on the rack. I don't know what's going on, but
I have a suit that way. There's no question.
No, there's no thrift shops. The way to go, man.
Sport coats.
They're the way to go.
Funky needs to go find the tape because he's wrong.
What was Sakic?
Yes.
I think we were all pretty rough on Sakic, guys. I mean, honestly,
I wasn't as rough as you guys. I can tell you that.
I freely admit that before he made the Duchesne deal, I was like, okay, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Yzerman as a star player became a good general manager. Sakic wasn't, and then he made that deal, and ever since, he was patient and he got what he was looking for. Everybody was basically saying, why haven't you traded Duchesne? What the hell's the problem? And then you saw why, because he sucked Pierre Dorian in and got the best deal that he possibly could, and that in a way turned that organization around.
Yeah. I mean, he has done some. I will say this about Sakic. Okay, there are some things like the Avalanche are everybody's favorite team to say that they're going to be the next great team. Right? They're the team that everybody's like, oh, they've got
for good reason.
For good reason,
they've got skill. That's why
they've got tons of skill. They're set up, and now they have a goalie too. I think of the future. Who's really been something else there too. That's spectacular. But
I'm not ready to anoint Pavel Francouz as the goalie of the future.
I'm pretty darn impressed with him.
You don't have to, but Craig Billington already proved that he's pretty good.
I think he's pretty darn good.
Craig Billington?
Yeah, he's still with the Avs. He was a goalie.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean goalie? Is he their goalie coach?
He's not their goalie coach. I think he's still an ASGM for them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, but I do think
influence, Mike.
Where we have to see what Sakic will do is what moves he will make to finish his team, to basically take, because his team.
He's still the ASGM.
You can be a good prospect. You can build prospects. You can build a solid team, but at some point, every coach, every GM has to make that 1 or 2 moves that they need to get them into it to win the Stanley Cup.
Well, getting Kadri as a number 2 center behind McKinnon
was a really good one.
Was a good step. I think getting Nemestikov as a rental was
that was proving out. That was proving good. Yeah.
Burakovsky for a 3rd round pick was a great acquisition for them from Washington because Washington needed to. Now, I look at defensively, Zadorov, Makar, Gerard, Ryan Gray. I mean, their defense was their weak spot 3 years ago, and now it could be their strong. It could be their.
Yeah, they fleeced the Rangers on Ryan Graves for Chris Bigger. I've talked about that 3 or 4 times.
No, they did, and I honestly think they took the Leafs too in the deal for Kadri. But it depends what happens down the line. We got to see. The Kadri can still screw it up, but
I can only say this: Kadri blocked a trade to Calgary, and then he didn't have Colorado on his no trade list. The deal that was
who was that trade for?
Yeah, Connor Brown and Kadri for Mark Jankowski and TJ Brody. Russ, does Jankowski have a goal yet? I don't think he scored a goal.
But he had 20 a year ago, didn't he?
Right, he's a big center, and I like him.
He had a bad year. I don't know why.
Yeah, and he probably heard that he was going to get traded, and he didn't.
Maybe.
But TJ Brody had the health scare, and they're not going to re-sign him. So I think that would have been a worse deal. And Connor Brown is having a great year. He's second in scoring on the Senators behind Brady Tkachuk. So.
Yeah, I think if the chat room really wants to air their grievances, wait for Festivus to come around.
Here we go. So anyway, like I said, if you like more alternate reality scores, let me know in the comment section of this post somewhere, and like say you like it or don't like it or whatever. I know I've gotten both sides of things. It takes a lot to go back in time and take notes. That's a lot of work right now. So not going back in time. So guys, stop saying that. Just going to my alter reality and taking notes. That's covering two full leagues right now. Just let me know what you get. Let me know what you guys want. Let me know in the chat room if you like it or dislike it with a yay or nay on future alternate reality scores. And let's do one thing before we get out of here today. Let's do this. We haven't done this in a while. Let's go to
Draft Simulator.
Tankathon, yeah.
Let's do it.
And it's funny thing, I loaded it up, and when I loaded it up, this is what came up with Ottawa getting the first 2 picks.
Oh,
imagine that!
Wow,
that'd be something, huh? All right, let's simulate it here. Here we go. Montreal. Wow, that would be something.
Fix.
That's
everybody. Mike would immediately. But couldn't even fix my mouth, Mike. I wanted to say that Mike would immediately say fix before you could even say it.
I'll tell you, that would be great for Montreal and not so great for Lafreniere.
Yeah.
Really, you don't think that'd be a good place for him?
Oh no.
Do you
remember who the last number 1 overall pick from Montreal was?
Louis LeBlanc? No, I don't.
No, number 1 overall.
No, number 1 overall. Sorry.
I believe it was 1980.
Yeah, go ahead, say it.
Doug Wickenheiser.
Oh, the famous one where they didn't take who?
Denny Savard, I believe.
Who was it?
Denny Savard, I believe.
Yeah, Denny Savard. That's the famous one about that one, which was like just insane. The other day I was trying to remember.
LeBlanc was supposed to be something local kid. Now he's not Lafreniere. He never was, but it's a tough market to try and develop.
Yeah.
1980 draft, Wickenheiser, then Dave Babbage by Winnipeg, and then Denny Savard.
You're more likely to develop if you're an American in Montreal than actually a French Canadian in Montreal as a player.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't. You guys know Lafreniere's personality way better than I do.
Oh, he's got no. I think. Look, honestly, he probably could handle it, but it would be twice as hard as it for him doing it there than, let's say, Detroit.
I mean, you have to factor in that it is going to be difficult because of the pressure of that market to get people to play for them. If it's a free agent, it could be another Sebastian Aho situation where he uses them because they have cap space and gets the money from some other place. But the pressure of playing in Montreal is 5 times what it is in Toronto.
There's no question.
And he's a left winger, so they would have to use Domi with him, because you wouldn't want to put Kotkaniemi with him because he's still developing. So they'd probably have to put Domi with him. That could work out.
Or they trade for because we don't even know, because there was talk at the deadline act, wasn't there, about Domi being on the block, which I would be.
I didn't really buy it, but yeah, there was out there. I mean, I
they were trying to get him to take a more sweetheart deal.
I think it was about negotiations. Yeah, I know.
I don't think he's going anywhere.
They really like him there a lot. New Jersey gets the 2nd pick in this draft. That would be the Devils, man. They really are stacking up high quality prospects. If this is the case, they continue to just get like top pick after top pick after top pick.
Yeah,
but actually, you know what? This is where you can make the argument where they might have to go Drysdale, even though Byfield is the better player in the sense that he's worth a little more.
Or trade down, Russ, because
trade down.
Yeah, they have Jack Hughes and they have Heishier up the middle already. The last thing they need is and I'm not, Byfield is ranked number 2, but the last thing they need is another center on top of those guys.
Yeah, I just think and I don't normally say you should draft for organizational needs, but I think the Devils now, again, they have Ty Smith coming, but they don't have a true number 2 guy. A guy who could be the number 2.
Yeah.
Subban, I think, is staying. So he would be the guy in a couple of years. And so that may be more valuable to them than even Byfield.
I still doubt that. I still doubt that Subban's staying, but we'll see.
Asmir in the chat room typed out the same exact thing you were saying as you were saying it, Russ, that he agrees with you. That the Devils get the 2nd overall, they should draft Drysdale.
Yeah. You might make the argument there.
That would be interesting. I mean, they really
or they go. Stutzel is now the. That's what I'm hearing. Stutzel or Stutzla, but I'm going to say Stutzla because I think that was the last one I heard from someone who really knows the pronunciation.
Yeah,
it'd be an interesting one because he's really going to be a winger in the NHL, and maybe they do draft him 2nd, even though I wouldn't. But maybe they do because he isn't a center. Like that's another consideration.
Wouldn't it be ironic if Montreal won the lottery and the draft was a virtual one instead of it being basically a coronation in Montreal?
Right.
This is one thing I would say. Okay, so say they have this, they have this during the first round of the playoffs, which is normal, right? That's when they would have it.
The lottery, yeah.
Montreal wins the lottery. It's going to be really hard not to have that, not to hold that lottery, not to hold that draft in Montreal.
No, but they've already decided.
That.
Doesn't matter.
They've already decided it's going to be a virtual draft.
No, they haven't decided that. That's not true.
They haven't.
I thought that they canceled the draft in Montreal.
They canceled
the draft in Montreal, of course, because
they haven't said how they're going to hold it yet.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm telling you that there's still hope that they could do it there. But we'll see. We'll see for sure. All right. That's all the time we have for today, I guess, guys. We have all the time in the world, but that's all the time we're going to give you.
Keep them hungry. Keep them hungry.
Keep wanting more.
We're going to go shopping for rugby clothes.
Give us something to talk about tomorrow. Go outside, play with your family.
Play some rugby.
Yeah, actually, play some pickleball. I'm really into pickleball, man. Oh my gosh,
I've never played pickleball.
Fun sport. You know what it is, right? It's like
never heard of pickleball.
I do know what it is because my cousin.
It's like a small. So what I did was let me see if I can show you this picture I did.
Yeah, cool. My cousins used to play it in New York.
So much fun. And it's something you can do outside.
Stickball?
No,
it's not spitball.
Stickball, you said.
Oh, stickball. So what I did on my driveway was I got like a pickleball net, and then on my driveway I took that construction paint that you that you can paint on the things that last for 2 or 3 weeks on cement, and did this. See if you guys can see this or not. It was I made a that's kind of because I'm in the wrong spot.
Now you use paddleball rackets, right?
You do use paddleball rackets, but I made a pickleball court.
That's a sport I'd probably be good at because I was great at paddleball with my dad for a long time. We used to play. And that's why I think people did switch to pickleball because they didn't love tennis, and paddleball started to go away because a lot of places had to give you, just having a wall up in a park takes up a lot of room. So they started taking them down, but pickleball was the in between. So that makes sense. I would play that.
Oh yeah. And you know what? It's kind of fun.
It's hard to find the rackets now. Where are you finding them?
No, I got it on Amazon. It's really easy. Okay. The ball is like a, you remember practice golf balls that have holes in them?
Yeah.
It's like a big version of that.
Okay.
And plastic, and it is just a blast to play. I tell you, my wife and I are about equal in tennis, so we've had some great matches out there. It's been really good.
That's cool.
It's a good social distancing thing too. If we could, I feel like we'd have people come from other places and visit and play with us because it's you're
on your side of the net.
Exactly. All right, alternate reality playoffs.
Healthy marriage right there.
Timothy, I said earlier, if you guys want the alternate reality playoffs, go to patreon.com. And it's at patreon.com/hockey. $5 if you want the alternate reality playoffs, $20 if you don't want me to talk about it ever again. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk